What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Dark Sages Interlude. I'm your host, Chase the Dark Sage, and this show is brought to you by Beyond Beats and Culture, the best hip-hop platform and show on YouTube itself. And this is the show where I basically just tell you guys some of my thoughts, some of the things that I want to talk about that I just can't necessarily fit within that show itself, Beyond Beats and Culture. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the video if you have not already. And you already seen the title, you already seen the thumbnail. Let's go ahead and talk about it. We're talking about R&B today, and rather the state of it being talked about online. Now, R&B itself, the space that it's in, I think it's in a cool space. I think it's in an alright space. I think there's enough differing artists to where it isn't all samey, even though there are some artists that do sound samey. There are some artists that are babies of other artists, but that's gonna happen when you have a genre that's been here for a while, especially with it deriving from blues to soul to R&B and everything that has become since then, especially with alternative R&B. But I have no problem with the actual state of R&B. I did have a problem with it beforehand, but you know, once you actually start looking for new artists, finding new artists, and hearing some great artists, you kind of remedy that out, because it's okay, there's some great artists making some great music, especially in the underground scene and the lesser known scene. But besides that, we gotta talk about the space of R&B, because recently I bought a Usher's Confession vinyl for the 20-year anniversary, and I was like, yo, I want to watch a review of it, because you know, I did have a plan that I do want to start an R&B podcast, and I'm still thinking about that. Well, I am going to do it. I have to do it because someone has to do it. And I was looking for a review of Usher's Confessions for the 21-year or 20-year anniversary, since last year in 2024 that was a 20-year anniversary of it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch a review. I'm gonna try and learn how to talk about R&B or learn how to critique R&B, because right now, at the state of who I am and how I am right now, it's easier for me to critique hip-hop, because I used to try to want to be a rapper at one point. I realized I couldn't, and I realized I was trash, so that's why I picked up a podcast mic instead. But it's easier for me to actually critique hip-hop because I can understand it better. When it comes to R&B, it's one of those things where when I hear it, is it good? Does it sound good? Is the singing good? Does a song jam? It's really hard for me to actually critique it and give my actual thoughts on it, besides, oh, that person, he really can't sing, or oh, the writing was whack, yada yada. I want to actually learn what R&B techniques there are. And so, like I said, going back to my earlier thoughts, I was looking for Usher. Jesus, I'm fumbling over my words this morning. I should have had my coffee. I was looking for an Usher album review for Confessions, and I couldn't find one. Instead, I saw reactions, and I'm like, that's weird. This album is 20 years old. I consider it a classic album within R&B. Why has no one reviewed this? I've seen vinyl openings for it. I've seen reactions of it, which have been in the recent years, but no album review. And so I was looking up other albums that I was listening to, especially last year, and I really wasn't seeing any album reviews for that either, just reactions. And I'm just like, do we not know how to talk about R&B? Is there no way for us to formulate or talk about R&B? Or do people just not care about actually looking for or talking about albums like that anymore? Because when it comes to the reactions, when they had that little stupid face like this, and they have the album cover, boom, they get in the views. But I don't see these same people actually reviewing the actual album itself. And so that leaves a void that needs to be filled, which I will, take that upon myself. I'm like Thanos at the end of that one Avengers movie where he gets the glove. I guess I'll do it myself. That's me right now, because someone's gonna have to talk about some R&B. And now Jesus, I'm just stuttering all over my words this morning. There is an R&B show that I've seen some of them, but they don't actually talk about R&B itself. Well, at least album review wise. They actually interview other artists and give their experience on what R&B is. And while that's cool, I want a show where it's kind of like Beyond Beats and Culture, but for R&B, where we actually review albums more so. And I just want to see what's happening with that. And I just want to talk about R&B, because while I do talk about it in the actual show, we do have a part of the show that's a segment called What We've Been Jamming, where we talk about some of the music that we've been listening to that don't necessarily fit within the album review, or albums that me and my co-host, my cousin, we both don't actually listen to ourselves, but we give our first impressions and our thoughts on it, depending on how many times we actually listen to it. And during that section, I gave a lot of R&B choices that I listened to last year. I listened to a buttload of R&B. I probably listened to more R&B than I did hip hop last year. And that was from me actually listening to new stuff I missed out on, and just older stuff, so that way I could learn where certain things come from in R&B. That way I can actually study it and break it down a bit more and get more of a experience with it. That way I'm a bit more knowledgeable on it. That way I can articulate the way I feel and how I see things. And oh, this person pulled from this and this person got from this right here. I'm trying to be more knowledgeable and get a better understanding of R&B. That way I can actually articulate my thoughts when I do kind of come up and make this show right here. And I'm still thinking and formulating, how am I actually going to make this show? Don't know. I actually want to do it with someone else, someone that's a bit more knowledgeable than me actually too. And I don't know how that's gonna go. I'm looking in the future right now, but I just want to actually talk about R&B, and I want to talk about some of the albums that I listened to last year that I enjoyed, some stuff that I missed out on, and some of the lesser known artists that I found last year as well. Now, I'm not going to talk about a lot of that stuff because I could literally make a separate video for each of those things in those categories, but I want to keep it short and just give some quick suggestions in case you guys are like, oh well, R&B is dead. Well, it's not. It's fully alive, and there's some really good stuff in there. To me, there was more replay value in a lot of the R&B albums I was listening to last year than it was in the actual hip-hop albums that I was listening to last year. And man, R&B got some quality over there, man. R&B has some quality. Ooh. Let's go ahead and get into the list of R&B albums I listened to last year, or some stuff that I really enjoyed last year at least. And the first album I gotta talk about is Mario's Glad You Came. This is my R&B album of the year last year. It came out in 2024 at the tail end in December, barely any promotion, and I really hate that it barely had any promotion because Mario, this album was fantastic. This album felt grown, it felt mature, it felt sexy. I love this album right here. And Mario was from that era where you actually had to sing. You had to have some vocal talent to actually be an R&B artist back then. And boys, he's singing on there. Oh my gosh. Some of the ranges that he has with his vocals and his singing ability. Oh my gosh, Mario is such a talented guy. And honestly, I don't want to say it like this, and I might be being hyperbolic, but I fully stand on this 10 toes down. This is Mario's best album. Yes, Mr. You Should Let Me Love You. Him, yeah, that Mario. This is his best R&B album. If you have not checked out Mario Glad You Came, check it out. I literally ordered the vinyl last night because I was like, yo, is this really like my album of the year, R&B wise? I listened to it again last night. I was like, oh yes. I don't know why I was tripping on that. Next album that we got is Flow's Access All Areas. Now, this is an album that I was hyped for because I was listening to some of their EPs. I heard some of their songs on TikTok and I'm like, okay, let me go check out this Flow group right here. I love what they was doing with them EPs. I'm like, yo, this is like a pop R&B group from the UK, and they giving me like heavy Destiny Child, SWV, like Escape vibes. So I'm like, all right, but they like the pop version though. Like they making these poppy songs that they feel like bubblegum, cloudy, very soft, nothing too like heavy or weighted in terms of like their lyricism, or I mean their lyrics and like the subject matter that they're talking about. But boy, when that album came out, I was like, yo, this album's gonna be, especially with that song Check that they had as a single. Oh my gosh. And they got some like super R&B cuts on there. Oh, you could tell that some of their inspirations obviously come from America when it comes to their singing and some of the subject matter and how they actually formulated some of the songs on the actual album itself. Because those R&B cuts, while it is, like I said, pop R&B, boy, them super R&B cuts, oh my gosh, them girls right there. Access All Areas. That was an album that I was hyped for, and it met my hype. Oh my gosh, I love that album. Next album that I got is PARTYNEXTDOOR's P4. We actually reviewed this one on the channel, so I won't talk too much about it, but PARTYNEXTDOOR, I'm a big fan of PARTYNEXTDOOR. I've been a fan of him since high school, and I will admit he does not have the best vocal abilities. He is definitely more of a niche R&B artist, but I still love what PARTYNEXTDOOR brings to the game himself, especially with the album P4. Now, I know the album cover is a bit NSFW, but hey, we rock with that. I got it on vinyl. And did I just buy the vinyl just to have the cover? Maybe. I don't know. Next album that we have is Normani's Dopamine. I enjoyed this album as well. This was my first time actually digging into Normani. This is the girl that made the look, she had that huge trend on TikTok. She has a feature with Cardi B. And I listened to this album. This is an artist that's actually from Louisiana and Texas. And so some of the influences that she brings in about talking about candy paint and stuff like that, which is very weird to talk about in R&B itself. Some of the influences she actually has a really dope singing voice as well. And she has some really dope songs on that album as well. I thought the album was all right, most of all overall, but I still enjoyed this album either way, and I actually talked about it on what we've been jamming on Beyond Beats and Culture itself. Next album that we have is Tems, Born in the Wild. Now, I listened to this at the end of last year because I was like, yo, this is Tems, like she has that Afrobeats dance-hall-y thing, and I'm not really with that sound. I don't like it when Drake does it, or at least I didn't really like it when Drake did it. I really hate it when PARTYNEXTDOOR does it. But I listened to this album, I was like, yo, I just want to listen to an R&B album, and I looked up some lists, and I'm like, okay, this is an album that I have not listened to last year. Mainstream wise, that was R&B, kind of. And I listened to it, I'm like, god dang it, I was wrong. I was proved wrong. That Tems Born in the Wild, oh yeah, that made me like some dancehall on some not reggaeton, but dancehall and Afro beats type of R&B music. Man, Tems got that voice on her. Now sometimes it is a bit harder to understand her because of her accent and the way she sings, but boy, that girl Tems can sing. Oh, she sing. And most of us probably already first heard her from the song Wait For You with Future and Drake, and I like that song right there. That song itself that it's actually sampled from that Tems made is not on that album, but man, Born in the Wilds is a good album. Next album we got is Marsha Ambrosius' CASABLANCO, which is also produced by Dr. Dre. Marsha Ambrosia is such a talented figure within R&B. Now, she was part of the group Flowetry or Floetic. I forgot the actual specific name of it. I actually talked about their debut album on What We've Been Jamming as well. And oh my gosh, this felt like a love letter to like R&B and hip hop. Like you could truly tell that she's a student of the game, but also she's been in the game for a long while. And the way that Dr. Dre actually produced this album made it sound so high quality, so lush, so grand. Oh my gosh. I was just looking, I'm like, yo, what happened to the Snoop Dogg album, Dr. Dre? You put all your effort into this CASABLANCO and no one was talking about it. My cousin told me about it, but he didn't hype it up like he should have hyped it up to me. Like I'm blaming him for that because like, yo, this album is fantastic. It was great. She even interpolated some like lines from hip hop in the R&B, and I'm just like, yo, this is like a love letter to this. B, why did you recommend me this? This is crazy right now. Marsha Ambrosius' CASABLANCO, produced by Dr. Dre. And yes, this is one of the good produced albums by Dr. Dre. You guys need to check this one out. Now, next album we got Jayla Darden's Momentum. Now, this is more so an EP, and Jayla Darden's one of those artists that I found through my Spotify algorithm, and she has a little bit of a buzz. She has a little bit of a following, but I will say that a lot of her projects end up on the shorter side in terms of like them not really being like over 30 minutes at all. And the Momentum EP came out. I saw her doing a little bit of promotion for it, but I didn't really hear much of it, but I did listen to it the day it came out. I enjoyed it. Now, Jayla Darden is someone that's, she leaves more to be desired, or there's something left there to be desired in terms of like, she's cool vocally. Like I had no problems with her vocally, but her songs are just so short. And she's part of this era where like she makes these super short songs, and I'm just wondering like what a full-fledged album will sound like from Jayla Darden herself. So that's something I am I'm not worrying about, but waiting for. But I'm also worrying about because some artists, because they're so used to writing shorter songs, they can't write a longer song. They can't write these songs, and especially in R&B, sometimes you need those ballads, sometimes you need those hooks and those bridges. Then you get the verse. You need that stuff. With Jayla Darden, like I said, she's part of this era right here, and I have no problem with her so far, but I will say that there is some stuff that's left to be desired in terms of like, what would the full-length album sound like? But right now, I'm giving her time to grow. She's young. She also produces her own music, so that's a very talented person right there. So I'm waiting to see where she goes with her sound, especially with herself producing it, and also where her singing goes in terms of her writing ability and her making more songs. But next project we have is LMA's 3 EP. LMA is one of my favorite R&B artists of this generation. LMA, I love both of her first two albums, and I love this EP right here. 3 songs, this little 3-pack that she put out, which one of the songs is actually on the radio currently. Man, LMA is someone who has been missing, has a huge gap within her discography, because I get it, she's been living life, so we give her some grace for that. And you know, she's in a relationship, we gotta give her some grace for that, especially when she's creating some heat like she creates. Oh my gosh, that 3 EP is really great, and I'm like, yo, you can't give me a tease, like you can't give me a taste. I want the whole load now, LMA. Give me the album, baby. Give me that mother life. Give me, and I'd say this right here. There's like a trifecta in R&B right now. It's her, Summer Walker, and it's LMA. Like her as an HER. Like those are the trifecta in terms of like women in R&B right now. For me, at least. You guys can let me know that in the comment section down below. Next person I have is Leon Thomas's Mutt. There's no way I could talk about R&B and not talk about Leon Thomas's Mutt right here. I listened to this album again. Oh my gosh, this is a really good album. Now, Leon Thomas isn't like great vocally, but his songwriting, song structure, and the production that he chooses, because I don't know if he actually self-produces himself, but man, he is all the way there. The only thing that I have to knock on him is his vocal ability, but nowadays in R&B, you don't really need that. But yeah, Leon Thomas's Mutt, a really great album. He recently also had a Tiny Desk, so yeah, y'all go check that out. But woo, that boy Leon Thomas, boy, that Mutt album is so good. The way that his instrumentation is on some of them actual songs too. Oh my gosh, this album is so good, baby. Yes, sir. And next album we have Orion Sun. Now, this is one that I cannot talk too much about, but Orion Sun, Orion album, I remember hearing it only one time because I only had time that week when I heard it when it first dropped. One time, Really dope album, really spacey, atmospheric. I really enjoyed this album. Like I said, there's not too much I can say about it, but I did really enjoy my time with it. And I was like, dang, that kind of like floated by, pun intended. Like, okay, I like this right here. I've heard all of her or their, sorry if I don't know exactly what you go by. I've heard all of their music that they already have released on Spotify before then. I'm like, okay, this is actually dope. Like, I like Orion Sun. Orion is definitely an album that I'd tell you guys go check out. I recommend it. Next project we have is Kehlani's While We Wait 2. And I'm assuming this is like the projects that she comes out with before her albums, because this is obviously a 2. I heard one also after I heard 2 last year. And ooh, Kehlani, I was unfamiliar with your game. I've never heard a Kehlani project. The only thing I've heard about her is like in some drama. I never heard any of her music, but besides the drama, because we're not going to make this about the drama itself, that While We Wait 2, there's some bangers on there. That girl Kehlani could sing. Ooh, I enjoyed that. I probably ran that back like 2 or 3 times last year. I need to go back and listen to it a bit more and actually get that album on vinyl, because I really enjoyed While We Wait 2. Kehlani definitely got something on her hands right there. I'm not sure if I'll enjoy a full-fledged album, but the While We Wait series that she has is a very shorter version of like mixtapes or albums where she's like, okay, this is like probably while you wait for like the actual album itself. I'll give you guys something to eat off of right now. I'll give you guys some snacks right now. That's something else. I need to taste the whole load. Probably, right? Oh no, you guys let me know. And next project we have is Kiana Lede's Cut Ties. I don't know how to say her last name, so I apologize for that. But yeah, listen to this album as well. Kiana Lede is also an artist that I listened to all their music last year because one of her songs in my Spotify algorithm actually got recommended to me. I listened to it, I'm like, all right, let me check this girl out. Listen to all of her albums, and I was like, yo, okay. And when she came out with that Cut Ties album, because she was promoting it just a little bit where I actually saw it, and I listened to it, I'm like, oh man, I like the phases that you gave me within that album. I talked about this album as well on What We've Been Jamming. I really enjoy Kiana Lede's Cut Ties. Really dope album, really good album. I really like the theme of like love, to break up, to being in this toxic relationship / situationship after the breakup, and you not really knowing how to let go. I like the theme of the actual album and the message that I was actually giving itself. And Kiana Lede can sing, so yeah. Kiana Lede, I don't know how to say your name, but ooh, that Cut Ties album was pretty good. I think that's my favorite body of work of yours, besides your second to last album you came out with, which I think is called like Gorgeous. I forgot, but it's like the blue cover one. But yeah, that album was pretty good. Next album that we have, and last one that we have, Sir Heavy. Now this is the album that I heard because of all the hype on Twitter, and I listened to it. I was like, all right, this was cool. This isn't my style of R&B. This is more of that, I don't want to say alternative, but it's more so, I want to say akin to like a Lucky Day, to where it's like, it's that weird side of R&B where it's like, I'm not too familiar with it. I'm not too comfortable in that pocket either. And to me, I don't want to say there was something left to be desired there. I just got to go back and re-listen to it and listen to the actual lyrics with the actual production itself. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it wasn't something where I was like, I got to buy the vinyl for that. But I saw a lot of people like really loving and hyped for this album when it hit the TL last year. So yeah, that was an album that I kind of like not slept on, but it's like, it's something that I guess I underappreciate as of right now. But you guys let me know what you think about some of the albums that I talked about in terms of like the stuff that I really enjoyed from 2024. Let's go ahead and go into some of the stuff that is lesser known that I found last year. And the first one has to be Honey Baby's 3 Words 8 Letters, the Deluxe. I seen this girl on the radar with one of her songs / freestyles or performances or whatever. I thought it was cool. To me, she just reminds you of a toxic version, like a super toxic version of like Summer Walker and Brent Faiyaz to a degree. That's the best way I could explain her. Like, you probably see her go viral on Twitter or something like that. But yeah, I enjoyed her vocal performance. Her music's kind of left some more to be desired, because I wish she would have fleshed out some stuff a bit more, or she would have either had better songs. I heard her whole discography on Spotify. Very short discography, very small discography. But I definitely could see some talent there that's kind of brewing right there. And the next person that I have is Ro Moore's Neon Brown. Now, the way I found Ro Moore is through D2X's album, who is a rapper from Chicago as well, Underground Act. And Ro Moore actually produced some music for D2X. They've worked together heavily, I believe. And so I followed him because I actually want to, get to know some producers and follow some producers. And I saw him promoting a project, it's called Neon Brown. I'm like, okay, is this an instrumental project? Like, you just put that little instrumental pack? When I listened to it, it had vocals on there. I was pleasantly surprised. And he was doing like some pretty dope R&B. Now, this is the R&B that's more so like moody R&B, where it's like, you don't need to be there all the way vocally to set the tone of what you're listening to and to set the vibe itself. Now, I do gotta give this one a few more listens as well, but I enjoyed what I heard from Ro Moore's Neon Brown. And now we're getting into the last bit of the video, where I'm talking about some of the stuff that I missed out on. I'm not gonna talk about every single thing, but some of the stuff that I do want to note that I'm like, okay, how did I miss out on this? First thing I gotta talk about is Tink and Hitmaker's 3-album run with Heat of the Moment, Pillow Talk, and Thank You for Nothing, or Thanks for Nothing. It's one of those two. This little 3-album run with Tink and Hitmaker. Hitmaker is someone that we know reproduces basically beats and hits that we already are familiar with, but ooh, Tink, I was familiar with your game. I kind of wrote her off when Timbaland was hyping her up to be the next Aaliyah. She did the 1 in a Million remix. It didn't hit, and she kind of hit a little snag in her career. But with this series right here, because my fiance, she's a huge fan of Tink. Her and Tink are both from Chicago, so this obviously makes a lot of sense of it lining up like that. But man, I went to the heat of the moment, and then I went to Pillow Talk, which Pillow Talk is so hard. But then I went to Thank You for Nothing. I was like, oh my God, how did I miss out on this? Tink and Hitmaker, y'all need to stay together, even though they was actually together when they made these albums and they broke up during this little run, so which really sucks. But oh my gosh, now I recently heard her Winter's Diary when that came out, Winter Diary 5, I believe. I don't say I want to get it because I didn't really like it on the first listen, but man, that 3-album run by her and Hitmaker, oh my God, amazing. Next we gotta talk about Jean Doe's Most Wanted. This is an album that I listened to last year. I believe she's also an R&B artist from Chicago as well. She's cool. I really got to listen to more of her music to get where she like goes. But overall, she gave me a pretty solid project that I enjoyed from her with Most Wanted. And I don't really have much to say about this one, but I do want to put this one on y'all's radar. Next person I have, Ari Lennox and her discography. I'm not gonna lie, I was sleeping on Ari Lennox. I did not listen to any of her music. She was on the Dreamville, and I was just like, she don't really interest me. But actually going through the discography last year, oh, I was wrong. I should have been went through that discography. Oh, I like that. Oh, that girl could sing, and that girl can make some music. Oh, Ari Lennox discography is so good. Even though it is short, she only has like 2 actual full-length albums. But yeah, if y'all want some like, I don't want to say Erykah Badu and Jill Scott, but if you want something akin to that in a modern day age, y'all could go to Ari Lennox. That's what her music mostly reminds me of when it comes to an R&B artist in this generation right here. And next person we have is my boy Chris Teague, which is actually an older schoolmate of mine. His Valuable EP and Unavailable EP, young and up and coming artist. I just want to give him some love and some shine. I've been loving what he's been doing. He recently came out with a song called Coffee. Chris, especially with that sax solo at the end of Coffee. Chris, I cannot wait for you to come out with the actual album itself, sir. When you come out with that album, you need to hit your boy up because I'm gonna show some love on that album. Oh my God, yes sir. And next person we have, and I don't know how I went without listening to this person for so long, Brent Faiyaz, his whole discography. I went through that bad boy. I went through all the EPs, went through all the albums, mixtapes, I guess. Ooh, that Wasteland though. At first everybody was like, oh yeah, Brent Faiyaz is toxic. There's all these toxic memes and stereotypes about Brent Faiyaz. I'm like, where are y'all getting this from? Listen to that album Wasteland or Wasted, whatever it's called. Masterpiece. It's a masterpiece in R&B right now. And the fact that it has skits, it's telling a bit of a story, and the actual like songs that Brent Faiyaz has in there. And while Brent Faiyaz isn't like great vocally, he's more in that like Frank Ocean range vocally, but oh my gosh, this album was so good. The whole discography itself is really solid and so good, especially the stuff with Sonder. But oh my gosh, Wasteland, oh yeah, when that bad boy came back out on vinyl, I had to cop that. I needed that. And I heard the Larger Than Life album that he has, or mixtape that he has, with Tommy Richmond on there and Coco Jones on there, and I believe someone from ASAP Mob on there. I thought that was cool, but I didn't think it was better than Wasteland. Oh my gosh. Oh. Brent Faiyaz, I was sleeping on him as well. But oh man, let me know some of the things that you guys want to see more about in R&B in terms of like discussion online, in terms of like album reviews, reactions, actual think pieces that should be like had on R&B itself. Every time I'm trying to look up an R&B video and I'm trying to look up like how to talk about R&B itself, I see usually a producing video is by somebody white. Does no one black want to talk about R&B? I don't know. If so, then I'm going to be the first person to actually do it on here. But yeah, that has been another episode of the Dark Sage Interlude. Let me know what you guys think about this episode down in the comment section down below. Jesus, I cannot speak this morning. I need my coffee. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. And my name is Chase the Dark Sage, and I'm out. Peace.
See, when I ain't had no money, I still had sauce. See, if you don't got no sauce, then you lost.